All throughout the Bible, there's chapters and verses about a variety of different topics, and there's only a very few chapters that speak about one specific topic. And this one is 1 Corinthians 13. People call it the love chapter, and oftentimes we read it at weddings, and it's inspiring, and it's good for that, I suppose. However, that wasn't the original intent of this chapter. It wasn't something just to be read at weddings. This is something, it was a pattern for our everyday life. He says, if I could speak in all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be like a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans, and I possessed all knowledge, if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but if I didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor, we would think that was admirable. Someone gives everything they have to the poor. It says, if I give everything I have to the poor, and if I even sacrifice my own body, I could boast about it, yeah. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. He's talking here about how we interact with other people. Maybe you have some gifts. Maybe you have some talents. Maybe you have great faith. But if we have no love, it says here that we are nothing. Can we choose to love even when I don't feel like it? Can we choose to love even when we've been hurt? Can I choose to love even when I feel like getting angry at somebody, even when somebody has upset me? Scripture tells us that we can still choose to show love to people. In your notes, we need to show love even when you don't feel like it. You may not feel like showing love to somebody today. You may not feel like showing love to your spouse or your kids or your parents or your siblings. Maybe you don't feel like showing love to your coworkers, your boss, your teacher, your students. Maybe you don't feel like showing love, but we can show love even when we don't feel like it, because this love that we're talking about is not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's a choice. It's something that we choose to do. If anyone could have gone through life saying he was in chaos, he didn't feel love, it was David, right? David was, he's from the Old Testament, first part of the Bible, before Jesus came on the scene. Maybe you've heard the story of David fighting the giant Goliath. Same David who became king. But David had a father who didn't believe in him. He had brothers who didn't love him. He had a wife who mocked him. He had a father-in-law who tried to kill him, and you thought your family was jacked up. Like this guy, he had everything against him, and yet he still showed love. He could have stopped showing love. He could have become bitter. He could have become angry. He could have taken revenge, but all throughout, he decided to show love. In fact, there's one particular story when David's father-in-law, King Saul, he was hunting David down. He wanted to kill him. And David and his men, they were hiding. They didn't want to be caught. And Saul, the king, he stepped into a cave to relieve himself. Now, I'll leave that to your imagination, what he was doing, but he goes into the cave to relieve himself. Anyhow, it happened to be the very same cave that David was in. Now, this is kind of an awkward story. We tell the story, and we're like, wow, that's a great story, but it's kind of awkward because King Saul is over there doing his kingly duties in the corner there, and David sneaks up with a knife in his hand. Now, at this moment, David could have easily killed the king. As he was there, he was vulnerable. He was caught with his pants down, literally. And here's David. And you know what David did? He sneaks over to him, and he takes out his sword, and he cuts off a piece of the king's robe. And then he sneaks back away. King Saul, I don't know, he must have been reading a magazine or something, because he didn't even notice what happened. He finishes what he's doing. He goes back out. And a few moments later, David comes out of the cave and says, hey, King Saul, I was in here the whole time. King Saul looks at him, and David holds up the piece of cloth that he had just cut off King Saul's robe. In that moment, King Saul realized David could have taken his life if he had wanted to. And many would have been, they would have thought that was right and justifiable for David to do, but David decided to show mercy to show love, even in chaos. Even when the king and the armies were hunting him down, he showed love.